But yeah, this is a little bit of effective time management. I assume none of you have problems with this, which is why you're here. You're here for your friend back home, right?
Right.
I'm just a dumb IT guy, all right? People ask me all the time, why did you get into the, I speak about this all the time. I speak about it to church IT folks, to church leadership teams, even to non-IT folks in secular, because time management's become a bigger deal. But what was the drive for me to do this? Part of it was, I was a solo IT shop for a long time. So in 2001, let's think back to 2001, that's a long time ago. I was a solo IT guy at my church. I still work at my church. I still serve a full-time staff at my church. I was the only guy. At the time Faith hired me, there were 300 people attending. Faith is now a 5-site mega church, and we do all the things that all the big churches do. As we grew, I realized I couldn't do this on my own and stay sane. Because back in those days, we were running Exchange 5.5 on-prem. I say that to other audiences, and they're like, so? I appreciate the audience. Come on in, man. We don't care. You can front row, you can back row.
There's couches over there, right?
You want to sit up here? Clearly, you're not Baptist because you're way up here. Presbyterian? A little bit. No, so I realized if I wasn't going to go insane, I had to figure out a way to manage time, because things then took a lot of effort. There wasn't a lot of simplicity. Everything we were doing was new. So Exchange 5 was new. Windows Server, once the NT thing faded out, was new. Windows 98, Windows Millennium, remember these things were all new. So I realized I had to get some more time or I was going to go nuts. And there's a line in life and ministry, and we'll talk about that. I get all this, but that was the driving factor. I had to get better. Also at the time, I didn't have any family beyond my wife in those days, but this is my family. My wife, Heather, and I have been married for 26 glorious years. Our son is 20, our daughter is 18, and that's my wife's dumb dog. 16 glorious years of marriage, am I kidding? I said, all right, don't get a dog. Your problem, told the kids, your problem. I'm not doing anything for this dog. You know who the dog likes most? I literally do nothing for him. He's trained to ring a bell when he wants to go outside. I will sit there and let him ring this thing over and over and over again until somebody comes and lets him out. You know whose lap he likes the best? I do nothing for him. He will come and sit on my lap on those rare occasions when we're both home and whine at my wife to bring him a treat on my lap because he doesn't want to go to her lap and she has the bucket of treats. So anyway, that's kind of what drove. I knew that we didn't have kids then, but I knew at some point we wanted to, so I thought, I got to get this schedule thing and this time management thing figured out. Plus, as you may have heard, I like to go to rocket launches. It's hard to find time to go to rocket launches when you live 1,000 miles from the launch pad. When you don't have some time management. But I think this kind of sums up where we are. We have so much time and so little to see. Wait a minute, strike that, reverse it from Willy Wonka. So I had to get better at this. I had to make sure that if I wasn't going to lose my priorities or risk losing my family or risk just burning myself out in ministry, which we're all able to do. Look, if you fall asleep up there, sitting on the couch, we're all going to make fun of you and take photos. I had to get some better time management, and I think we're all passionate about what we do. I hope we're passionate about what we do. We just have to do it in a fashion where it doesn't burn us out, or where we don't risk losing our legacy. I've been at my church for 25 years. I started with MBS in 2021. I wanted to keep a foot in both worlds, serving on staff at a church and serving other churches through MBS, but I didn't want to ruin my legacy. How long have you been in your ministry? More than 5 years? If you've been there for a while, you're starting to get some legacy, and you can burn that up pretty fast if you don't have this figured out. We're also seeing our resources being reduced. Is anybody being told to budget more money next year? Is anybody being told, please go hire somebody else? This technology is supposed to save us time. How much time is it saving? We have lots of competing priorities. Depending on how your church is structured, you may have to support ABL as well as IT, and all the ABL stuff's on the IT network, and what happens on Sunday morning, and they just have these competing priorities. And I found we're all celebrities. Everybody wants to talk to us. Do you go to church and instantly have a line? I figured out ways to sneak in and out of faith where nobody knows I was there, but then they'll go put a building in front of my secret door, and I have to learn a new path. It's part of ministry. People want to talk to us, and sometimes they want to waste a little bit of our time, but sometimes when people have legitimate reason to talk, and if we don't manage our time well, by the time they come up to talk to you, you're just fried. I don't want to talk to you. You're the 50th person I've had to ask or had to talk to today. I don't care. You may get to that too because you just feel like you're constantly being interrupted. You want to walk down the hallway and have a conversation with somebody, and 50 people stop you on the way to ask you a question. And then we find that there's just not resources. One of the reasons I like this group is I got involved in this group when it started back in 2006. So I was 5 years into my full-time IT ministry of faith. This group was life-changing because it was people that got it. I didn't feel like I was in silo anymore. I wasn't on an island where nobody knew how to help me. I wasn't reaching out to corporate America or people that worked at Purdue University or other large organizations for help that didn't get church IT. I had somebody who could help me. And this group became tremendously valuable. It saved me time. One of the first questions, anybody remember Twitter? Back in the early days of Twitter, we had a hashtag CITRT. I remember getting involved in this group in 2006, and shortly after we had some Cisco switches. One of the GBICs went bad. Cisco wanted like $1 zillion a GBIC. I found a third-party one for like $5. I thought, I wonder if the cheap one will work in the Cisco route. I didn't want to waste time and money on it, so I got on the Twitter thing and said, hey, does anybody know if this will work? Hashtag CIT. Within 5 minutes, I had responses. Yes, we've done it. Yes, it works. You should, like, this community is great. They saved me money and they saved me a lot of time. It's also very easy to fail here. It's very easy to become, we're sinners by nature. It's very easy to fall into bad habits. It's very easy to become lazy. You all can come sit in the front. First, Nancy's going to come sit up right here and heckle me. You can sit in the couches. I mean, please come in. We're all family. I'll take a nap. You'll take a nap. We'll be done by 3:15, and you'll give me 5 stars. But it's easy to fall into those lazy habits, or it's easy to say, I don't have to be disciplined with my time. I can work harder. I can work longer. I can put in more hours. And that's not always the way it works. It's also possible to come up with a lot of excuses. Have you ever been challenged for how you're using your time, and your go-to is the reasons why it's the way it is that you claim you can't control? Not you, the person next to you. Have you ever been in a staff meeting or an employee meeting where somebody's being asked, why isn't this done yet? And they start giving off a litany of excuses for things they may or may not control. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to develop bad habits and bad priorities. And I hope and believe we're going to be held accountable. We have priorities, God first, right? Family second, work third. What happens when God and work are the same level? Because we work for the church or for a ministry. We have to work at that. We can't just let that be, well, I'm just going to default to one over the other. There's a ditch on both sides of that road. I'm going to make my work first and my family second, or I'm going to say families first and work falls down to the bottom. I think we got to balance that in the middle. I don't want to stand before God and Him say, I gave you a ton of opportunities in ministry that you didn't take because you thought family was more important. The inverse is also true. I don't want God to say, I gave you a ton of work opportunities that you took, but you blew it with the family. And it takes the wisdom of Solomon to know. But where we get in trouble is when we start capitalizing on one or the other. Part of this is just how we communicate about what we're doing. But if you're in one of those ditches or the other, I think you want to slow down. If your family is saying, you're never home, you're not spending enough time with us, that should be a red flag to stop and have a discussion and a personal evaluation. Or ask somebody else to speak into that. If your job is saying, you're here a lot, or, if you're hourly or you keep track of hours, you're putting in 70 and 80 a week. Maybe we need to have a chat, because what's happening to your family life? And if you're single, you don't have the kind of traditional family with, the kids and all that mess and the dumb dog. If you still have My wife's here, by the way. She's at our booth, so please go tell her about the dumbbell. You still have priorities with other family members and people outside of your church, your ministry, and your church. So don't get stuck in those ditches. Also understand there's no one-size-fits-all approach. I've tried to take principles that have worked well for me over the last 25 years and give you some markers that you can use to apply to how you manage your time. But there's not a one-size-fits-all. If there was, I'd be selling it in the lobby for $19.95. Here, do these 3 steps, your problems are solved. Doesn't exist. You're going to have to invest time to effectively manage your time. And if you don't have time, I'm so glad you're here, because that's part of the problem. You need to be willing to make this a priority, because if you can invest in this and you can spend time here, your future ministry will grow. I travel over half the year. The few of you that are dumb enough to follow me on social media see that I am rarely home. I travel all the time, and I'm not complaining. That's just the ministry God's called me to. I had to balance that with the fact that we had young kids growing up. We are now empty nesters. It's a wonderful thing. Anybody else cross that line? I mean, it's wonderful. It's heavenly. It's what you strive out for the day they're born. One of our kids popped out. I said, "I love you." 18 years. I realized there's emotion involved with the kids. No, but it's a great thing. So we're in a different stage of life. But when we weren't there, I had to manage this. How many ball games did I miss? How many plays did I miss? How many activities? So you've got to work hard at making sure you balance that. And it can be a little bit of a roller coaster, because do I do this or do I do this? I was always willing to get outside input. From my church, from my company, from my family. What do you think I should do? It was a happy day when our son was playing t-ball in upper elementary, and they said, "Oh, they were terrible." And I said, "Do you need me to rush home for this game? Because I'm going to be here, but if I do this, I can get..." He was like, "You know what, Dad? No. Mom will send you the pictures of me striking out. We're going to lose 25-0 at the 5th inning. There's no reason for you to rush home." That was a happy day, because it helped him see there's value. And he was able to make that evaluation. When do I get home? When am I not there? If you also find yourself all the time saying, "When I have time," that's another flag. Because if you're in the "if you have, when I have," you're never going to realize that. When you get to the "well, I'll get to it when I can," there is not a can. I really try to say yes unless I have to say no to everything. So if you ask me to do something, if you come to me and ask me to serve you, or people in my church come and say, "Hey, can we do this?" My go-to is I want to equip and empower. But sometimes to have to say no comes back to how I manage my time. And remember, God made us all unique and different. He knew one of me was enough. After he made Aaron, he broke the mold. He knows that. So we're all unique, but he still gives us some ways we can handle this. And some ways we can look at, how do I manage time? And part of time management includes, and this is the hard part, dealing with your authority structure. We all want to do this on our own, but if you work for somebody else, and we all do, you have to get the authority structure involved in how I'm managing my time. So God made us different. God gave us all a boss. I wonder if God says anything about this. Well, if you look at Matthew 25, 14 to 30, this is the parable of the talents. We often use this to talk about the talents. I believe we can use this not just to talk about the talents and apply that to each one of us, but to talk about our time. So here's what it says, parable of the talents. "For it was just like a man to go on a journey who called his own slaves," again, this is the New American Standard Version, put in his employees if you want, put in whatever authority structure you want to do there, "to entrust his possessions to them. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1. This is an important phrase, "each according to his ability." There's a reason not everybody got 5, and he went on his journey. Immediately the one who had received the 5 talents went and traded them and gained 5 more talents. This guy went and hit the stock market and hit it hard. Then the same man, the one who received the 2 talents, gained 2 more. My guess is he went in and bought some bonds. He wasn't willing to risk all of his money on the stock. But he who received the 1 talent, went away, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's or his employer's money. Verse 19, "Now after a long time, the master came and settled the accounts with them. The one who received the 5 talents came up and brought 5 more, saying, 'You entrusted me with 5, see, I have gained 5 more.' What did the boss say? Well done, good and faithful servant. You were faithful to a few things, I'll put you in charge of more. Enter into the joy of your master. Now that's a great performance review. If I could get that put into our HR system about me, I'd be a happy guy. And it may be in there anyway, but that's just because I have administrative rights to the HR system. Verse 22, also the one who received the 2 talents came up and said, hey, you entrusted me with 2, see I have gained 2 more. What did the master say? The exact same thing. What a good day these 2 guys have had. And then things take an awful turn in verse 24. The one who received the 1 talent came up and said, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow, and gathering where you scattered no seed. Never start a performance review blaming the boss. That's not related to time management, that's bonus material. Never do that. And then he continues, that's not the worst of it. He says, and I was afraid. Well, don't tell your boss you're scared to do your job. I was afraid and went and hid your talent in the ground. See, you have what is yours. And you can just see the guy beaming because he didn't lose it. You know, I didn't lose it in the stock market. I didn't lose it going to Vegas. I didn't lose it because I lose things. I kept it. Here you go. What does the boss say? Verse 26, the Bible says, the master answered him and said, you wicked, lazy slave. That is not a good performance evaluation. Regardless of slave, employee, whatever, wicked and lazy together are not things you want to hear. You knew that I reaped where I did not sow and gathered where I scattered no seed. So he puts the criticism back on the employee. Then you at least ought to have put my money in the bank. And on my arrival, you would have at least been able to pay it back to me with interest. Well, today, not a lot of interest, but back then, maybe some interest. Therefore, take away the talent that is from him and give it to the one that has the 10 talents. For everyone who has been given more will be required. But from the one who does not have it, even what he does not have should be taken away. Verse 30, here's the weird part. Throw out the worthless one into the outer darkness. Again, if your boss says that to you, you're probably not having a good day. Into the place where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. That's Bible speak for hell. Did not turn out well. But what can we learn from this parable? I think there are a couple of ways to look at this. First, notice there's 3 different types of people. The 5, the 2, and the 1. And everybody got the same thing. When you look at other people, you've got to recognize that they're different. And if you're the boss managing down, do you recognize everybody in your org is different? That doesn't mean better or worse. It just means they were different. There was a 5, a 2, and a 1. This has big implementations. If you're being managed by somebody who thinks you're a 5 and you're not, what happens? You're constantly frustrated. You're never going to master your time because you're always overworked because you're being given more than you can handle. What if your boss thinks you're a 1 and you're not? Remember, slide yourself into the org chart wherever you fit. Are you looking up? Are you looking down? Or are you in the middle and you have to do both? So you have to look down at your team and manage their abilities accordingly. You have to look up and help your boss manage you accordingly. It's up to leadership to recognize these differences. The rewards may be greater, but the ability is the same. And I see a lot of folks struggle at this level. I can't manage my time. Okay, who do you work for? And if your boss thinks you have abilities you don't, that's a time to have a conversation. I used to work for a guy years ago at Faith who believed everybody was a 5. Everybody. If you could keep up with that, you did really, really well. It became very obvious after several years the folks that were not 5s and were not being equipped to get to a 5 really struggled. And it wasn't that they were failing on their own, they were being put in an environment where they could not succeed. And so depending on where you are, what are you doing to get to the next level? You realize there's numbers beyond 5, right? What's next? 6. I mean, you can keep working your way. I know it's late, I know you're tired. You can keep working your way up. You can keep working your way into greater and greater things. So if you're the leader, are you giving people ability, or are you equipping people according to their ability? And are you willing to help people get between abilities? Because you're not going to manage time well. And then how do you communicate when somebody in your time scope is unreasonable? Maybe you're the unreasonable one. Or do you take your time, do you take your talents and invest more? Time is finite. I mean, there's only a set amount of it, but unfortunately we don't know when it ends. Only God knows when it ends. So what are we doing with what He's given us, our talents and our time and our abilities, and how are we using that to please Him? So how do you take your time and talents and invest it to do more? How do you use this to help yourself grow? Part of your growth might be leading up a little bit. I gotta communicate up. Part of this might be you communicating down. The reason you're a bad user of your time and manager of your time is because you're not using the people below you better. You're not equipping them more. I have employees on both my two hats. I have a team at Faith. So at Faith, I work for our senior pastor, and then I have a team under me. There's one hat. So I'm in the middle. I put my MBS hat on, and there I'm the top. I'm the president of the company, so everybody reports to me on down the line. How do I equip and manage those folks so that they're a good use of their time, so I can occasionally go enjoy a rocket launch? And frankly, Elon likes to go down there in Boca Chica and blow stuff up. If you've never been to a rocket launch and seen something blow up, you're missing a lot. But manage your time so you can go watch things explode. So what are some ways, what are some practicals, how can we take this to apply it? First, we gotta look at our schedule. Do you have an environment of focus? I have done IT audits at churches where I sit in a room with the IT folks, and while I'm there on the clock, they're being interrupted. Everybody who walks by the office sees somebody, oh hey, you got somebody with you, and they're trying to be nice, and I get all that, but it takes an hour meeting and makes it two. They don't have the ability to control the interruption. They don't have the ability to control their office space. Do you have a way to communicate when you are and are not available? And I get we want to serve. I get all that, but at some point you have to be productive. And if you're not controlling your office with some environment, you're never going to get there. We can create an environment of focus or an environment of distractions. For MBS, we're a fully remote company. We don't have an office anywhere. We have a mailbox in Texas. People say, are you from Texas? No, the mail service is. You send all the junk to them and they send me whatever we need. I don't really pay attention to it. It's snail mail. Who does that anymore? But we're fully remote. I have employees from Florida to Alaska. We have to be very intentional because we're fully remote about the office space because everybody works from their home. I still need to make sure the employees are free from distractions so they can serve our clients better, because it does you no good to call us if you're a baby crying in the background or hear a family argument going on in the background. So we're very intentional about this, but it's harder because we're remote. If you have a local setting, you're still in a traditional office space in a church, you should have some ability to discuss, can my office be set up in a way where I can have some control over my distractions? And then you can make modifications to that goal. And it's easy to hold accountable because we can see that you've removed the door from the door frame. We can see that you have no blind on your windows, so you don't have the opportunity to get the privacy or be alone. Somebody was telling me earlier, when there's an outage, they really struggle to be left alone because they'll close and lock the door and leave the lights off while they're trying to fix the outage. Meanwhile, they're getting 100 text messages saying, did you know the internet's out? Guess what happens? Somebody with a key opens the door to see if they're in there, sees that you're in there ignoring them, and then what happens? You're instantly the bad person. Because you're hiding. Why aren't you responding? Some of these things can be controlled as a process, but you have a way to communicate that. Here's another thing in your environment. If you showed me a picture of your desk, would I be impressed or appalled? You're going to have to admit that. This is not confession. And I'm not saying I'm a type A, everything in a right angle, a little bit OCD kind of a person. I'm not saying you're that. Are you organized where it's effective? You know, my wife is the opposite of me in terms of organization. Our offices are on different floors of the house, separated by a floor in the middle. Oftentimes, hey, I need something from you. We meet in the kitchen and get coffee, and then we split again. But her organization path is different than mine. I'm not saying hers is better or worse. I don't get hers, but she is just as effective as I am. The difference is when you're constantly flipping through piles of things, you're not being efficient. You're not well organized because you don't know where the stuff is. Does your boss come to you and waste time in your office space because you're digging for something because you don't know where it is? It's always fun for me to go into an office at Faith and have somebody say, can you help me? I show up to help them, and it takes them 10 minutes to get organized to the point where I can help them. What if we just wasted? Well, 20 minutes of time and I haven't done anything yet because there's 2 people involved. So is your desk organized? Do you keep everything or toss everything? I find both. Hey, I keep everything so I can't find this. I toss everything so I can't find this. Well, you ever heard of scanning? It's a magical thing. If I touch a piece of paper more than once, it gets scanned. You know, I'm here, our daughter just got a different job and they needed her passport for her I-9. Her passport is locked in the safe at my house because she didn't trust herself to take it with her. Guess what? I scanned the passport. So from here, I could securely send her the PDF of her passport and she could give it to her new employer without an issue. If I hadn't scanned that, then what would we have done? Are you organized? And now, you don't have to be as detailed as I am. The point is, are you organized to a point where you don't derail yourself? And the biggest thing is, do you derail others who come to help you and you spend time looking for stuff because you're not organized, because you've derailed yourself, wasting everybody's time. I see this when I'm on the clock. You call MBS and you want some assistance, I call you back and say, here's what we need to do. Do you have this? 20 minutes later, they're still looking for it. It's not a good use of their time or money at that point, or ours. And then this is a fun one. Some of you are doing this right now. I'll pause. We often hear multitasking is a good thing. When Windows first came out, I'm talking 1.0 back in the 1980s, Mark was there. What was the selling point of Windows over DOS? Multitasking. I don't have a picture. It's in the marketing materials because you can do multiple things. Windows plural. You can have 4 different things open at once and switch between them quickly because you're not command lining and having to run batch files, that kind of stuff. I think we've crossed the line where we think multitasking is good. Do you do email and phone calls at the same time? Do you still have online meetings? I still go to endless online meetings. You can tell the people not paying attention to the online meeting. The camera's here and they're staring here. I know you're not listening to a word I said. Monkey farts. And then what happens when they do connect? This just fries me. And sometimes they'll admit, I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Can you say that again? And then I feel like I'm the only one that was paying attention because nobody else speaks up. Multitasking. Is it okay for you to work through your email while you're on the phone, while you have to repeat or have everything on the phone repeated to you? I see this with my family. When our kids were younger, we had a no phones at the dinner table. And if my wife or I had to because of our job, we explained that up front. My phone is going to be on the table because I'm on call right now for something, and me being on call paid for this dinner. I'm not going to reference it as an excuse not to pay attention to you, but it's got to be out. I mean, are we having those discussions? You've probably seen it here. You can't see it. I have an Apple Watch on. You're talking to somebody, and their watch vibrates, and while you're talking, they go like this. That's multitasking in a bad way. Mark, stop reading your watch. I'm just saying, are you even thinking about this? Do you measure once and cut twice? There is nothing that can tap my wrist that's more important than what I'm doing at this moment, because very few of those things will change the course of the planet. So my wrist taps, and it's a notice from Fox News or CNN about something happening on the planet. Is my conversation with you more or less important than whatever this notification is that I don't even know exists yet? Well, what if my wife texts me? Well, what if? My wife is here, go ask her. Very few things can she text me that my response at that second changes. But what happens is I get distracted, I multitask, and then I lose my place for where I'm at. Multitasking then leads us to creating just a ton of those interruptions. And how do you define an interruption? It's others attempting to control your schedule. The lingering effect of that is you get delayed and have to start over again. If you can't control your office and people are always popping in, you're not getting anything done. You're constantly having to pick up where you go. And I realize some of you are significantly younger, and we had to explain to you what WKRP in Cincinnati was. Sad, really. But anyway, As you get older, recovering from those interruptions can get harder. We age. And what my brain can do now versus what it could do 20 years ago is drastically different. So are you controlling the interruptions? Are you finding a way to manage those so when you need to be focused, you can stay focused? I mean, just a few simple ways. Position matters. Position yourself or position others between you and the interruptions. This is where using your team is more valuable. I don't want anybody of faith to ever have to say, I can't because Jonathan ... I'd rather them say, I can't because I'm still learning that from Jonathan. But I don't want me to be the bottleneck where people have to find a way to get to me for everything that they need. So I position and I equip others between me and those interruptions. The goal is not to make it harder to get to you. No, I don't like people, so yes, I want to build the wall. I'm not saying that. The goal is not to make it harder. The goal is to make it not necessary. And granted, there are some things, I get it, we're IT people, I'm not going to give out the administrative passwords. But there are still ways to equip folks to accomplish what they need to do. You got to also learn how to say go away without being a jerk. I'm really good at saying go away and being the jerk. Really good. But be solution oriented. I can't help you now, but I can in an hour. Or I've already solved this for you, but can I get back with you in an hour? Don't be negative in how you communicate. Don't say go away because I'm too busy. You're devaluing the fact that they might also be busy. And remember, if you're a 5 talent or a 1 talent, how you interpret that statement is drastically different. You can put people on your team, or you can put them off your team really fast. Try to assume the best. If someone stops me in the hallway, anybody get the hallway stop? Never, right? It's just me. Somebody stops you in the hallway, what do? I try to put the burden on them. Now it's how you communicate. I'm happy to help you, will you submit a ticket? So I don't forget, because what's going to happen 5 steps from you? Well, I'm going to either forget because I told you I'm dumb, or somebody else, and I only have so much RAM. We all know how RAM works, right? It writes over itself. Please tell me RAM, random access. If you don't know that, you really shouldn't be here. Anyway, so the RAM buffer is full of the last thing of what you said, and you stopped me and it overwrites the RAM and I forgot. So I want to put the burden back on the person. It can also weed out some of the wasting time stuff. I get stopped in the hallway for stuff I know they're never going to put in a ticket for because this doesn't matter. Sometimes it's just the awkward, I feel I need to talk to you, so I'm going to make up some work thing. I'm not a touchy-feely kind of person. The head nod is just as beneficial to me as you stopping and telling me about your kid's life story. That's just me. You got to learn how people work, but put the burden on them, and can help you weed out some of that stuff. And I get there's exceptions. Hey, Jonathan, your pants are on fire. I'm okay with that. Thank you for telling me. Let's work together to solve the problem. I'm also okay with, hey, Jonathan, we want to take you to lunch today, and you get to pick and I'm buying. Great, thanks for the interruption. Let me make that happen, and we'll go to lunch today. You can also control this, as I mentioned, with your devices. How often do you let your device interrupt you? My device, I've got an article out there at churchleaders.com about just living on Do Not Disturb. I know right now my phone is going crazy. All the time. I'm not letting that drive me. I live on Do Not Disturb. I have very few notifications that actually tap me because I know it's there. That way I control when I'm going to go down those paths. I control when I'm going to pull up my phone and see how many zillion text messages I have right now. When I pull up my phone and I see how many emails I've got right now. Our help desk system at Faith does not ping me when somebody puts in a ticket. We have a team for that, and when we're on call after hours, we may have it do that, but as a matter of practice, we don't live there. Do you do that with your help desk system? Are you constantly allowing yourself to be interrupted? And then when people do stop you and talk to you in the hallway, emphasize, hey, I want to help you. Don't be put off by the stop. Because remember, we've all interrupted somebody in the hallway. We can't say we're innocent of that. But do you encourage them, hey, I need you to communicate in the ticket, but here's what you can tell me that will help me remember this. Because what kills you is, hey, can you do this? Yes, put in a ticket. The ticket is, please do what I asked you about in the hallway. Please put in a ticket and please be specific about what you're doing. And then do you have a discipline or a routine? And this is hard, but are you consistent with your time and what you do with your time? I've watched staff members be very consistent and staff members be very inconsistent, and that can really mess up what you're getting done. Do you have a consistency in your schedule at all? Do you do things at the last minute, or do you do things on a schedule that makes sense? And this can also arise just with you interrupting yourself. So when do you put gas in your car? How long has the light been dinging? So where do you put your keys when you get home? I have very little brain power left. I don't want to worry about where I left my keys. My routine is they're always in the same spot. My routine for the car is I always fill it up when it gets to about 3/4 of a tank, because I live 70 miles from the airport, and if I don't fill it up tonight, tomorrow, I'm going to get an email asking me to jump on a plane and go somewhere, and then what do I have to fit into the timeline? I gotta get gas, and I gotta get to the airport, and I run my tank down. Do you do laundry on a certain day, or when the pile's so high, or you're turning your undies inside out? Routine. Those things matter. I always check my pockets before I walk out of the house. Do I have my keys? My wife calls it I'm doing the hokey pokey or the Macarena, but do I have my keys and my phone? And occasionally, do I have my ID and my wallet? Sometimes that can matter. I have a routine with my schedule. I have certain meetings that are standing on certain days, and a lot of times if people want to bring an interruption during the week, I ask them to shift it to the standing meetings. I have in my schedule a routine, don't laugh at me, to be interrupted. I schedule what I call interruptible time. I'm amazed when I walk to the bathroom that people think I'm in the hallway for their benefit. I have a biological need, and they didn't give me a bathroom in my office, so I gotta go to the facility. I'm getting stopped on my way to my knee. It's a good way to get a snarky comment from me, by the way. But I schedule time to be in the hallways and be interrupted. Not with a biological need. I am just wandering the hallways, not with an agenda. I'm just here to help. We have 5 campuses. I try to schedule a day a month to go do that at the campuses. Where whatever tasks are on my list, I can work in the free spaces in all the campuses, and I'm okay with whatever comes up. You know what's funny about that? Nobody bothers me on those days. It's like they know, and it's totally random. I get on my schedule, I travel a lot, so I'm constantly moving stuff around. But do you schedule time as part of your routine and your discipline to allow people to interrupt you? Because if you don't, everything's going to be an interruption. You're going to get worked up and you're going to get irritated because you don't have the opportunity for people to bother you. If you agree to do something, like I've agreed to speak at this event, shouldn't I schedule some time to prepare to speak at the event? Or is it, ooh, I'm going to speak at CITN, oh, I got to go there, oh, I don't have time to do it. Now I've got to carve out time while I'm here or in the car on the way down here or something to make it happen. Do you have a routine? So when I schedule an event, and just last week I agreed to speak at something somewhere at some time. What are you laughing at? First thing I did was go to my calendar and block out the time to pray. That does 2 things for me. One is it makes sure I've got the discipline. 2 is if I schedule over it, I see it. So if somebody says, can you come visit me, and that's over the top of a prep, I can move the prep around. I can make sure that those schedules are met. I publish a ton of articles, so I've got publishers always asking me for deadlines. I keep all that on my calendar. That's all part of my routine, and it's important. You might say, well, I know all of this. Why are you bringing this up? Well, if you knew all of this, you wouldn't be here. And if you knew all of this, then I wouldn't be able to go through this cartoon. We're all IT people. We read Dilbert, right? I realize Dilbert's kind of gone a different path. I'm talking old school Dilbert now. I gotta be careful. So this is the pointy-haired boss, whose name is pointy-haired boss. The key to good time management is touching each piece of paper once. All right, maybe. If I can only touch it once, I'd better do it right. Okay, we're measuring twice, cutting once. I'll need to make sure I don't get interrupted after the first touch. Well, he's speaking my language. I'll turn off my phone, I'll close my door, and ignore email. Okay, we're on the right path here. Okay, here goes, 1 touch. This will take an hour, I only have 10 minutes. Ever happened to you? Goes out to the secretary, make a copy, throw it in the original, and don't let me touch the copy until I have an hour in my schedule. Don't take the picture, I got one more friend. So walking back to his office, he says, I wonder if I'm allowed to use salad toss. So again, what are some ways to do this? One is, you gotta plan and you gotta stay organized. Don't try to wing this. Don't do this at the last minute. Just stay organized. Airlines make a lot of money on people that aren't organized. Those change fees can get you. And this is easy to say and it's harder to do, but it goes back to some of that good old-fashioned discipline. Creative people and engineering people organize in different fashions. I'm more of an engineer than a creative, if you didn't know that. It's very easy for me. I'm very linear in how I do things. I schedule time to be creative because that's just how my brain works. Other people, when the juices are flowing, we make something happen. That's great. You can still manage that in a way that's got some organization and planning. That way you're proactive and not reactive. Do you use a calendar of any sort? And don't tell me you use it and then you never look at it. We have this discussion with our family all the time. Is it on the calendar? 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 Do you have some sort of a task list? Do you have some sort of a project list? I have this in my personal and professional worlds. I have projects to do at home, and I have tasks. All a project is for me is a group of tasks that all relate to the same thing. Same thing in the MSP and in the IT world. I have a lot of tasks to do. I have projects that are made up of lists of tasks to get things accomplished for the larger good. But do you manage that stuff? And not just in the way where you say you do, but you actually look at it. The number of people I email that commit to something and an hour later email me back and say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't look at one of these 3 things amazes me. It's 2025, I don't have to go find my Franklin planner. And now I know how old all of you are, okay, so you laughed at it. I don't have to order it in November to make sure I can keep filling out the next year. Do you use this stuff? And do you differentiate in any kind of organization? I've got multiple calendars. The issue is not how many do you have, it's do you use them? My work calendar tells me what stuff is due when. So hey, we have a work calendar that helps us remind our facilities team when it's time to change the filters in the rooftop units that manage the data centers. And anymore at Faith, that's just the big closet that has the switches in it. But do you have that kind of thing? Are you organized at that level? And are you aware of the priorities? And I hope we understand these. God, family, and work. And when the two blend together, I think you want to shoot down the end of the road. And if you don't know, ask for some help. Ask the people in your spheres of influence. Ask the people that you spend the time with. Ask the people that you may be accountable to. And if you don't have anybody there, ask somebody from outside. Schedule those priorities. Depending on your work schedule new priorities of what you need to accomplish during your time. Have reminders in Outlook. I mean, the more I forget, the more I need the reminders. My habit is I go to bed and I look at what's upcoming for the next day. I wake up having forgotten it, but at least I look at it the night before and I feel like I'm going into the day with some sort of a schedule. I plan my dates. I'm not very spontaneous. If I don't put it on my calendar, I will totally forget that I'm married. She's here, you can ask. I'm task driven, not saying that's good or that's bad. To overcome that, I put dates on the calendar. Last week, 2 weeks ago, I surprised my wife with an event, and she can see all of my calendars. I put it on the calendar as a client visit. Because if I didn't put it in there, I'd forget that I bought tickets to take my wife to something. So she saw it, totally surprised, but I use the technology to help you however your brain works. I schedule time with our kids, I would schedule those things. And then the biggest thing is you gotta stick with it. Don't put stuff on your calendar and look for exceptions to not do the stuff on your calendar. I see that a lot. Well, my calendar says but, and we all have to make exceptions, but do you live on the exception or do you live on the rule? You have a spam filter. Is your spam filter any good, or have you poked so many holes in it because everything's an exception to your filter? Same is true with your schedule. Stick with what you've done. Reference what you've done. The technology means all of my calendars are always right here. There's never a reason for me to say, I don't know. It's all right here. And then manage those exceptions. Don't live on that. Because that's where you'll get yourself in a lot of trouble. And that's where I find people are constantly running, working 80 hours a week, because everything they do is an exception. They don't have a plan. They don't have an ability to be misdirected, because when they get misdirected, they've forgotten everything because it's not recorded anywhere where anybody can get it. One of the things MBS does for our clients is we can be your continuance of operations. Any MSP can do this, but you're feeding us data, we're organizing it. What happens if you disappear tomorrow? What happens if you don't make it home? Can your org keep going? Or if I log in, and I've done this, hey, the guy's not here anymore, and in some cases they've passed on, can you help us get into their calendar and see what's going on? I'll give you a real example. One of our senior engineers, Rick, was here. He left yesterday because his mom died. I told the team, get into Rick's stuff, because we share all this. I don't want to bother Rick. He's got an emergency to deal with, a shocking situation. Find out what he's doing this week so we can cover it. If we weren't disciplined with putting stuff down, what happens? In our case, clients might suffer. We might start dropping balls. It's a real thing. The whole joke about what happens if I get hit by a bus, it happens. So are you preparing yourself in case that happens? What kind of a legacy do you want to leave with your organization? So if you're struggling with the priorities, get some help. You need to be humble. Humility goes a long way. Admitting I'm not perfect, I'm not doing it right, I need to get constant help reviewing this. And then you want to avoid the traps. Do you have more than one boss? What if two departments are competing for you? Do you take that burden on yourself? You shouldn't. When I have two people of faith giving me competing opinions, I'm like, great, let's go to the boss together and figure it out. I may have an opinion, but if I'm not the decision maker, hey, let's go figure that out together. We did this with our clients. Hey, we got two people at the same client with different things. What do? We want to take that time to communicate. The axe shouldn't be over my neck. And sometimes we put it there on purpose. Hey, I'm putting the axe over my neck so I can make a decision that's not mine to make. All right, if that's the case, lead up the chain, be humble, don't put the axe over your own neck, and ask. We've got competing priorities, what wins? You say, I do that, but the priorities keep changing. I respect that, that's okay, keep communicating. And there's an aspect of this, if the priorities are shifting sand, you may have to have a different discussion with leadership to try to figure out, hey, I'm really struggling to get stuff done because I don't feel like I know what's next or what to do. Are they strangling a cat? Did you just hear that? So again, a few articles I'd encourage you to check out. One is Stress in IT. Go to this link there and get those. I am concerned about just guys stressing out and gals stressing out in the church IT field specifically. Part of that is because they don't manage time well. And then I wrote this in 2017 about some tech etiquette, and I'm amazed at how these years later it just keeps coming to be true, both in how we live with each other in real life and without our phones maybe getting in the way. I went to a TV show taping recently, and they don't allow you to take your phone in there for obvious reasons. The warm-up guy had numerous jokes about, I know you don't know how to relate to me because you don't have your phone anymore. You can't look anything up. I can't be pretending to talk to you. I'm also doing 4 other things. And then if you're looking for a few other resources, I've got the Church IT book out there. It's a great resource you can get on Amazon. It'll probably meet you at home. Just for Church IT and to help you lead up. If you're struggling with the leadership team, this is not written at the geek level. It's more written for how should Church IT work. You say, well, it says all the same stuff I've been saying for years. I respect that. I get it. Use this to get a win. Don't worry about who they listen to. Worry about the fact that they listened. And you may have got some credibility for bringing somebody in from the outside. I've also got a few resources out there just on social media addictions and young people and parenting. So these are just some links to some places you can go to get some help and stuff from me. So I wanted to get done early just to give you time for questions, pushbacks, arguments. I used to say what happens here stays here, but they're recording all of these now and putting them in the cloud. So who knows what's coming. Yes?
So how do you feel about...
I don't feel, but go ahead.
Yeah, so we kind of have this place where our open office is kind of like the Genius Bar, where people can walk in and get help whenever they need it. And since COVID and a lot of more people are working from home, oftentimes now some of us are staying in the office instead of working at home because someone might come in and need help with something. But how would you go about communicating that to leadership and changing that to something more scheduling it out?
Yeah, I get the concept of having available people, but if you make everybody available all the time, nobody has any time to focus. And we all know some of the stuff we do requires an element of focus. If I'm compiling scripts and code, I just need to be left alone long enough to run it through in my head. Or if I'm cheated and asked Copilot to write the PowerShell script, I still want to read it before I apply it, just to make sure that PowerShell didn't click, oh, I just wiped everything out. I think that's leading up, and part of the way is knowing who you're discussing with. So if the leadership team, I'm going to pick on a pastor, is a pastor, you can say, I need time to focus the way you need time to study. So how would you prep for Sunday if you had to sit in this environment all day for just make a connection that shows it's okay to serve. We have to balance the available resources with the ability for folks to focus to get strategic things done, to get the projects done. And then tie that back to some results. And that's where a third party can come in and help with that. A third party can help you with that. Hey, you know what? We can make people available 24/7. Here's what it costs to have a third party available who will call in and solve your problem. But yeah, the genius marketing at Apple is just fun to make fun of in general. But having everybody always interruptible doesn't provide productivity. That's it.
I got an odd question.
You're an odd guy. Go ahead.
Based on how I'll mention how this makes you feel as a student. You may have experienced this, and maybe it's on the both sides. This is brand new to me. Somebody yesterday in a section told me that they have an AI avatar set up so that when people ask them questions that they consider frequently asked questions, the AI unit responds back to that person. They don't, so it frees up their time and they don't have to do that.
Yeah,
How do you feel about that?
I use technology for a lot. I have created an AI version of me. He's a lot smarter, a lot better looking. No, he's a little bit more snarky. That might be an input problem. No, yeah, I use the technology. I keep control of that because if that leaks out, people can make me say things. But I think using technology to help answer stuff like that, whether it's a written article, an AI avatar, whether it's a video, common things is a great thing to provide. You just have to have a culture where people go there first. So hey, am I going to stop Jonathan in the hallway if I haven't gone to look at the solutions desk that he's been maintaining since 2001 that's got all those answers? That's a cultural thing. The how, the technology is always going to give us a new how. The nice thing about the AI is I can just type in my response and the rest is done for me. I don't have to sit in front of my phone or whatever. But no, I think providing those kind of tools is great. Yeah. And the early edition of that was the wikis, the help desk solution bases. Now it's with AI, it's frightening. That's why I tightly control the one I created with me. Because you see stories of the deep fakes and the things like that. Could you imagine? Y'all are sweet. You just want to get to your next session because it's going to be better than this one. I know. Well, I have one token left. You're sitting on the couch taking a nap. Just for this one token to spin the prize wheel. All right, I talked to somebody from Huntington Beach, California, who traveled the farthest to get here that's in this room. Right. See, there's
South Florida.
well, come on, somebody who's further than South Florida. Phoenix, there we go.
Guatemala.
I think you're going to have to win. I don't know, I'm just making it. Somebody asked AI if Guatemala is farther away than Phoenix. Anyway, my contact information is up here. I'm happy to talk. People say, well, I don't want to bother you because you're busy. Well, let me decide that. If you email me and I don't email you back for 6 months, that's because they don't like you. But if I don't have time, I'll tell you. But don't, for anybody here, I would not say, I'm not gonna bother them because they're busy. Let us or let them decide if they're too busy to reply to you. But use those resources. And people say, well, you'll send me a bill. No, Jonathan from Faith is a great guy who will help anybody. The MBS guy's a jerk. He'll have you talk to Rick. But, no, thanks for letting me serve. Thanks for being here. I hope you enjoy the rest of your event. You all have a safe journey home. Guatemala, here's your coaches. I hope you win big.